Vice President, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, my Lord Justice Atugubra, representing the Chief Justice, former President Jerry John Rawlings and his wife, my Lord Justices, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, Nime, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to greet all of you and to wish you a belated, happy and prosperous 2012. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you and honorable members for giving me this opportunity to be here to perform my constitutional duty. Article 67 of the Constitution requires the President at the beginning of each session of Parliament to deliver a message on the state of the nation. I intend to do just that. To deliver a message on the state of the nation, which I dare say is stable and is in reasonably good health. The economy is full of promise, and in terms of development, we have made great progress. Madam Speaker, for the 3 years that I have been President of this dear nation of ours, we have been able to move this country forward in the right direction in accordance with our manifesto. Even though we have experienced internal and external constraints, we have been able to chalk successes, and we are full of hope for Ghana's future. Madam Speaker, in the area of economic growth, this country in 2011 recorded the highest rate of economic growth in the history of this dear nation of ours. Approaching almost a growth rate of 14%. Madam Speaker, you may recall that in my 2011 State of the Nation address, I referred to inflation as the worst economic nightmare that any nation can go through, because it breeds economic and financial difficulties and also imposes hardship on the most vulnerable. I noted that the success that we had in confronting inflation in that year was notable, but the challenge was to remain on course. I'm happy to report that we have remained on course. We have been able to record a single-digit rate of inflation, which is extremely sustainable, and indeed with an inflation rate of 8.55. It is the longest sustainable rate of inflation in decades, 42 years since 1970. Madam Speaker, the successes that we have chalked should be a credit to all Ghanaians and to our government as the direct operators, and to you, members of parliament, for being the monitors. Madam Speaker, a recent report by the World Bank alerts developing countries of future economic shocks this year, and therefore calls for contingency planning. We are therefore watching developments in the global economy with hope and apprehension. Hope because the easing of the global crisis can only inure to our benefit. Apprehension because the worsening of the economic state of the highly indebted rich countries and the global economy can bring about serious consequences, least on commodity prices. We are therefore doing what we can to be able to prepare against this eventuality. Madam Speaker, the achievements that we have made have resulted in an increase in investor confidence in our economy. Only a fortnight ago, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center released figures showing an increase in the number of projects registered with the center, amounting to over $7 billion in direct foreign investment. That said, I expect the newly established interagency task force to see to the full compliance with the GIPC Act, especially in relation to immigration and tax. Now, in this connection, I would want to commend the Ghana Revenue Authority for the great work that they did, especially in the year 2011. We know that there's a long road ahead, but judging from what they have been able to do, I'm left in no doubt about their ability to perform admirably in the area of fiscal prudence. Madam Speaker, the achievements that we have made have impacted positively on the key areas of our economy. Now let's take education. Indeed, a snapshot of the education sector will show how much we have been able to grow since we took over. Indeed, it reveals that in the city of Accra, for example, many classroom blocks are being constructed in order to bring to an end the school shift system, which has been a drawback in our fight for quality education. Several classroom blocks are also being put up, which will make it possible for the hundreds of children to take advantage of the space provided and also derive the full benefit from a full day's classroom teaching. Contracts have been awarded for over 1,700 classroom blocks in order to cater for the schools under trees. On completion, the 4,320 schools under trees that we came to meet will be reduced by about 40%. We are on course in eradicating the schools under trees phenomenon. We have in our free school uniform policy distributed 3 million school uniforms. To needy students nationwide, with a basic school population of 5.2 million. It means we have supplied every 3 children out of 5 with school uniforms. Under our free exercise books policy, we have made available to all students nationwide a total of 40 million exercise books. What this means is that every student in 2010 and 2011 had 8 free exercise books. In respect of the school feeding problem, we have rationalized selection in order to target more needy areas. In all, coverage has been extended. Now the second cycle. Madam Speaker, as far as the second cycle is concerned, we have awarded contracts for as many as 672 emergency classrooms and dormitories. Indeed, they are in various phases of construction. Indeed, on my nationwide tour, I had the privilege of commissioning a few of these projects which have been completed. In line with our social democratic principles, it is our aim to make secondary education accessible to all students. The completion of the emergency classroom blocks will make it possible for us to increase enrollment. Between 2013 and 2016, we want to establish additional community secondary schools to cater for the underserviced areas and locate them throughout the country. As far as this administration is concerned, providing the youth with right education and also making sure that you address the employment problems of the youth are two sides of the same coin. Thus, we are ensuring that we complete as many of these classroom blocks as possible in order to ease the situation. Madam Speaker, with the School of Fishes at Anumabo that we promised, it is underway. We are also constructing the headquarters of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Madam Speaker, various changes are taking place in the world of communication and information. Changes have been introduced in our own country. Only last July, the mobile number portability was introduced to offer choice to mobile phone subscribers. A lot of preparation is ongoing for our change from analog to digital broadcasting. And indeed, we hope to move from analog to digital by 2014, well ahead of the 2015 deadline. Now, related to this is a need for us to equip our young men and women with the skills in communication and information technology. This will not only offer them the skills that they need to fend for themselves in the future, but it will also contribute to economic growth. Under our science, technology, and innovation policy, we are distributing free laptops to all students in the country. So far, 60,000 has been distributed, and I'm informed that the number will be doubled by the end of the year. This certainly is good news for the many students who hitherto had to take BECD exams in information technology without having ever seen or touched the keypad of a computer. Madam Speaker, tertiary education. Before Parliament rose from its last and final sitting last year, the bills on the establishment the Brown and Hartford region were powered. Indeed, work is seriously going on to provide the needed infrastructure for both students and staff. Indeed, the governing councils of the two universities have been inaugurated, and it is expected that admission will begin this year. A lot has also been achieved in terms of providing infrastructural facilities for teaching and learning in the existing public tertiary institutions. In the particular case of the University of Development Studies, we have made available funds for infrastructural expansion and also for the acquisition of laboratory equipment and other projects. Madam Speaker, Agriculture. Again, we have made great strides in agriculture. Now, true to our commitment to modernize agriculture, the government has increased the stock of rice combine harvesters, maize harvesters, additional grain cocoon storage facilities, and boreholes for agri where none existed. Agricultural mechanization service centers have also been established. As a result of targeted government intervention, we have recorded significant increases in rice, yam, and maize production. Madam Speaker, cotton farmers in the 3 northern regions will attest to the fact that there has been a revival of the cotton industry, and government has also made the necessary intervention which has resulted in an increase in cotton production. Irrigation. Between 2009 and 2011, government has rehabilitated several irrigation dams in the 3 northern regions, Greater Accra, Volta region, Ashanti, and the Brown and Ahafo regions. With the completion of the master plan for irrigation development, the first phase of the Accra Plains irrigation project, covering an area of almost 11,000 hectares, will begin this year. Now, cocoa. For the first time in the history of this country, we produced more than 1 million tons of cocoa in 2011. Our output last year was more than 50% more than the output in 2008, which was 680,000 tons. Now, in terms of the percentage of the world market price paid to farmers, we have outperformed every government in our history. Now, with an average world market price of $2,450 in January 2012, we are paying the farmers about 80% of the world price. Now, shea nut. A new shea nut factory has been established at Buipe in the northern region to process shea nut for export. Government has already inaugurated the steering committee, which is charged with formulating plans to grow and sustain the industry. The floor price for the purchase at the farm gate has been fixed so that the farmers are not shortchanged. The factory is expected to process around 40,000 tons of shea nut a year. Madam Speaker, government through Cocoa Board has launched a 6-year cocoa replanting program to rehabilitate old cocoa farms. The program entails the production of elite cocoa hybrid seedlings for planting. One of the objectives is to offer employment opportunities to young men in the cocoa growing areas throughout the period of the program, and also to enable them acquire skills and techniques for cocoa production. Another objective is to encourage underproducing farmers to increase their acreage and their yield. Madam Speaker, fisheries. This administration has taken steps to enforce the fisheries regulations and to protect our fisheries resources. To this end, patrol boats have been acquired and will soon be commissioned. Implementation of a fisheries and aquaculture development plan will begin this year. A 10-key fish processing plant at El Mina is expected to be underway this year. Now, water. Madam Speaker, in our manifesto, we pledged to produce, distribute, and supply water, taking into account the needs of the poor. We also pledged to build and expand water plants throughout the country. Since 2009, we have constructed hundreds of boreholes, fitted with hand pumps, hand-dug wells, fitted with hand pumps, and also piped water systems throughout the country. Several others have been rehabilitated, and I have directed the Water Ministry to ensure that over the next 4 years, we construct as many as 20,000 boreholes. The government has absorbed the 5% contribution by rural communities towards the capital cost of constructing water in rural communities. The water expansion project is expected to add 40 million barrels of water daily to the Accra-Tema metropolis. The many interventions that we have made are intended to ensure that by 2015 we would have raised the current level of urban water from 62% to 80%. The power sector. Madam Speaker, we inherited electricity generation capacity of 1,800 megawatts when we took over. Since then, we have been able to add 376 megawatts. But we hope to add some more through the expansion of the Takoradi International Company project, the planned completion of the Bui project, the development of the thermal plant, and the completion of the Teba power plant. By the end of 2013, power generation should have reached about 3,300 megawatts, showing an increase of 80% over what we came to meet. Madam Speaker, the national electricity transmission system that we came to meet had a lot of problems. Problems relating to obsolete equipment, the overloads, high losses, and the like. There is no doubt that since our assumption of office, we have improved upon the situation. Some transmission outlets and substations have been constructed all over the country. It is our expectation, therefore, that the power outages will be brought under control, if not totally eliminated. Madam Speaker, rural electrification. From 2009 to date, through various rural electrification projects, over 1,100 communities have been connected to the national grid. We are aiming to add 4,000 more to the number. I would like to mention that the program to have street lights in regional capitals is proceeding according to plan, and that it will be extended to the districts and the metropolitan capitals. Now, oil and gas. Madam Speaker, last year we earned a total of $424,124,724 from our four liftings of 3,930,189 barrels of crude oil. We have made and will continue to make full disclosure of the earnings and liftings, and we are also hopeful that the exploration going on in other parts of the Western region and the Volta region and others will bring us some success. The appointment and inauguration of the Public Interest Committee, headed by an eminent Ghanaian, demonstrates our commitment to transparency and accountability. Once again, the government has demonstrated its Ghana First commitment. Madam Speaker, there have been challenges in the production on the Jubilee oil field. Consequently, production estimates have been scaled down, pending the completion of remedial programs that are in place. The Ministry of Energy and the recently established Petroleum Commission are watching developments with very, very keen eyes. Madam Speaker, the Ghana National Gas Company Limited, which is charged with the responsibility of building, owning, and operating infrastructure for gas gathering, processing, transporting, and marketing has been established and is working in earnest. Upon completion of its gas infrastructure project, we believe that this will stimulate the diversification of our economy. The single spine salary structure. In my State of the Nation address last year, I made mention of the bold and courageous steps that we had taken to implement the new wage policy, popularly known as the single spine pay policy. As at the time, only 8,000 public servants had been migrated onto the scheme. Last year, our action year, 80% more public servants were migrated onto the scheme. Indeed, as I speak, 99% of public servants have been migrated. But the implementation of the scheme has not been without challenges. We have had hiccups, and in this regard, I would want to express government's appreciation to organized labor and the various associations for their continued support and collaboration in our implementation of this project. Now, with the huge increase in the wage bill, and Madam Speaker, when we assumed office, the wage bill was around 2.4 billion a year, Ghana cedis. With the implementation of the single spine, it's now 5 billion Ghana cedis. Now, clearly, we could not have done this but for the improvement in the economy. Very often, when we make reference to the achievement that we have made in the economy by citing figures, a lot of people say that it has not translated into the welfare of the people. Now this is an example of what we have been able to do. And let me also say that when we took office, the minimum wage was 2.55 Ghana cedis. Now it's 4.48 Ghana cedis. Now with this increase, we expect greater efficiency and productivity from the public servant. Now, special development areas. In my State of the Nation address 2009, I indicated that the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority and the SADCOM will be used to address the special poverty problems of the 3 northern regions and SADCOM. In the intervening period, SADA has been established, and the SADCOM remains the shell around which the Western Corridor development will be created. The creation of the other development corridors is being actively pursued by the National Planning Commission. Madam Speaker, the National Health Insurance Scheme. Madam Speaker, the NHIS begins to grow with utilization rising from 600,000 in 2005 to 17.5 million at the end of 2011. Yes, there is an urgent need for dialogue and consensus on the financing of the NHIS to ensure sustainability. And I'm happy that the bill is before honorable members. In the meantime, measures are being implemented for cost containment through improved provider payment systems. Meanwhile, for better customer orientation, the scheme plans to start a call center in order to become more user-friendly. Now, health infrastructure. Madam Speaker, our plan to improve access to health care is proceeding according to plan. Indeed, a number of new health centers have been built and are in use throughout the country. Government is also strengthening the existing ones at the regional, district, and then polyclinic levels. By way of equipment, government is providing equipment for selected district hospitals and also re-equipping 100 health centers, district hospitals, and regional hospitals throughout the country. As a matter of fact, the state-of-the-art magnetic resonance imaging MRI machines are being installed in Okomfanochi and Tamale teaching hospitals. In course of time, 2 more machines will be installed at the Volta Regional Hospital and the Central Regional Hospital. Government has also begun a comprehensive program to replace obsolete equipment in our health centers. Now, it is not just a question of health structures and equipment. We have built health assistant training schools, nursing training schools, midwifery schools all over the country to train our people. Madam Speaker, with the help of the Cuban government, 250 Ghanaians will benefit from medical training in Cuba. 200 will take their first degree in medicine, whilst the other 50 will go for specialist training. Government has also reached agreement with the Cuban government to increase the quota of medical personnel sent to Ghana from 200 to 300. Now, guinea worm. The last guinea worm case was reported in May 2010 at Diare in the northern region. Since then, we haven't heard of any. In 2011, we intend to intensify our disease surveillance in order to ensure that guinea worm is not reintroduced into Ghana and to prepare for WHO certification of Ghana as a guinea worm-free country. Now, roads. Madam Speaker, when it comes to road infrastructure, we have done a lot. As at January 2009, Tetekwashi Medina was 30% complete. It's now 80%. Achimota Ofanko is 80%. At the time, funds were being mobilized for Medina Pantang. Now it's 45% complete. Now, Pofrodua bypass has been completed, it's in use. Kumasi Techiman Road has been completed. It's a one bypass. The Asokwa Oforikom bypass. The Sogakobe Adidome Hofumi first phase. They are all nearing completion. Now, reconstruction of the Esikuma Junction Hohoi Road, the 147-kilometer Fufiso Solar Road, the 60-kilometer Asen Praso Bekwai Road, the Dodi Papa Say Nkwanta Road, the Nkwanta Otidamanko Road, they are all on course. Madam Speaker, on one of my visits to a road project site, an obviously happy resident turned to me and remarked, "Wumpe we na wupe de." Madam Speaker, you may have noticed that I did not mention the Tetekwashi Malam Road. This is because the money for it was procured under President Kufuor. And in fact, but indeed, he cut the sword, I'm told, on the 30th of December 2008. But the construction was done by us. Now, one thing that members may not know is that I happen to be a mathematician, although let me add, not a good one. And I'm sure that my classmate, Honorable Safumafu, will gleefully confirm the point that I'm making. But from my calculation, since they procured the money and we constructed it, the value is the same. It's 1 crore. Now, security security, law and order. Now, since this year is an election year, it goes without saying that we have to prepare the security agencies so that they can ensure peace before, during, and after the election. We are doing all that we can so that we can make them ready to undertake this assignment. Now, there is evidence that crime has reduced in many areas. However, I'm not going to go into details. What we want, if possible, is a crime-free nation. Now let me look at the various agencies. When you come to the armed forces, we are trying to make sure that they reach the level where they were some years ago. We have tried to do this. We have tried to do this through the supply of equipment and hardware to Navy and Air Force. But you may remember that in my last year's State of the Nation address, I stated that the 48th Engineers Regiment will be mainstreamed into the area of road production. Now, I'm happy to say that they are doing an excellent job, and I know that if we give them more facilities, they more than rise to the occasion. Now, as far as the police are concerned, we have increased their strength by 4,000, and we have modernized their forensic facilities. We have also given them vehicles, communication gadgets, and bulletproof vests. Now, with the fire service, you are all witnesses to the fact that they took delivery of 152 vehicles last year. Now, the scourge of fire outbreak with this resultant loss of lives and property is a matter of great concern to us, and we have to prepare the fire service adequately. We are therefore thinking, and indeed have taken the steps to grant them capacity training. Some of them have benefited from training in the US, UK, Germany, and Belgium. There's a lot that we need to do for them. With immigration, they are installing their digital border surveillance system. This clearly will enhance their ability to operate on our borders. There is some more to be done, and we shall do it. Now, with the prison service, last year I had the pleasure of commissioning their medium security prison at Ankafo in the central region. Now, let me say that beautiful as it is my prayer that it remains empty all the time. Now, Madam Speaker, foreign affairs. Ghana very much believes in good neighborliness, which remains one of our cardinal objectives. We want to organize ourselves having due regard to good neighborliness. We believe in conducting our foreign policy using the tools of diplomacy and the existing bilateral and multilateral structures. When it comes to the protection of our land and maritime borders, we will do exactly that. I have therefore directed the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to coordinate the activities of the Ghana Boundary Commission to delineate the outer limits of our continental shelf beyond the 200 nautical miles continental shelf, which is before the UN Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. I've also directed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to intensify its activities towards the protection, safety, and welfare of the many Ghanaians who are abroad. The problem is that sometimes, because of economic difficulties, some countries tend to be xenophobic, and it's important that we protect our own. Now, Madam Speaker, youth and sports. We believe that training the youth in the right way is the only way of ensuring that we equip them with the necessary skills to take over from us. We are therefore concentrating on training in the following areas: employable skills, youth health and sexuality education, drug use and substance abuse education, conflict prevention, management, and resolution. In the area of sports, the country or the nation is expected to organize the second ECOWAS Games in June this year. The International Olympic Committee, which has suspended the nation, lifted it last August, paving the way for us to take part in the London Olympic Games. Now, at the 10th African Games held last September in Maputo, Mozambique, Team Ghana put up its best performance ever by winning 19 medals. The male under 23 team and the female under 20 team won gold and silver respectively. I hope you all join me in congratulating them. Now, in the course of last year, the senior team, the Black Stars, were rated 14th by FIFA in the world and first in Africa, the best ever ratings in the history of this country. Now let me confess that after last week's performance, I had to change my bit about the Black Stars. But even though they did not win, we can take consolation from the fact that they were beaten by the eventual winners. And at the risk of being accused of interfering in football administration, I would want to humbly suggest that the Black Stars need concentrating on, and that we must find what is wrong. I was going to suggest that we need to teach them how to take penalties, and Now, if you care to know, there is somebody in this august house who is a specialist in penalty taking, and he is in the person of Honorable U.T. Mensah. But I want to remind the Black Stars that they have our support. We'll do what it takes to enable them regain their enviable position. Now, Parliament. I'm reliably informed that Job 600 will be completed this year. And that it will be ready for occupation next year. I am confident that I'll be the first president to address you whilst you are occupying your office. But there are three initiatives that are announced, and with regard to these, I would have to sit down with Parliament so that we look at the modalities. The choice of national service personnel as your research assistant, the construction of duty posts for MPs. I'm reliably informed that some have been constructed. And then the setting aside of a special MPs fund. I think that together we should be able to find a solution. Now, the Constitutional Review Commission. I hinted that last year that the Constitutional Review Commission was at work. And I also noted that governance reforms must ultimately have their ethos in the constitutional review process. I still stand by that resolve. I'm happy to report that the Constitutional Review Commission has submitted its report, and I've identified a technical implementation team to help Cabinet draw up the white paper and commence implementation of the recommendation. I want all of you to join me in congratulating the Constitutional Review Commission for the work that they have done. Now, a subject that I'm sure will interest you, corruption. Let me say that we have not relented in our office, in our attempts, and in our determination to fight corruption. As I said, I do not care whose ox is God. What it means is that we have to be steadfast in the ways that we are employing to deal with the situation. You may have seen that we have changed our tactics and methods in trying to deal with this problem. But I want to tell you that we are never going to relent in our efforts. Now, the Cocaine Commission. Now, following the fate of the Ghana at 50 commission prosecutions, I stayed my hand in following the route of appointing presidential commissions to reinvestigate the disappearance of cocaine from police vault and also from MJ Benjamin. We have looked at what went wrong, and we have decided to adopt even more effective ways of dealing with this problem. I believe that in this regard, the least said about those ways, the better it will be for us. Now, the judiciary, we very much appreciate the contribution that the judiciary is making toward the sustenance of democracy in our country. However, in those matters which reflect negatively on governance, I believe that the judiciary, being the institution which has the mandate to dispense justice, and the executive having the mandate to implement the law, we need sometimes to look upon ourselves as partners in a collaborative effort to rid our society of wrongdoers and harmful activities. I think that it's important for the judiciary, just as the executive, to regard itself as an arm of the government. And therefore, it is our joint responsibility to ensure that those who are harmful to society and in accordance with our rules are brought to justice. Where there is the perception, and I'm emphasizing perception, that the judiciary is on the side of wrongdoers, it undermines democracy. It undermines democracy. Now, election 2012, there are certain important matters that should engage our attention. First one will be the ability of the judiciary to settle election disputes expeditiously. If indeed these disputes are kept waiting, and of course we are also going to have another election, it may create problems for all of us. The second matter is that, polarized or not, biased or not, the media has a role to play in ensuring democracy and ensuring that we have peaceful elections. Speaking for myself, I have confidence in the ability and preparedness of the media to ensure that we preserve our democracy. But as to perception that they are polarized, biased, aligned, the media can better speak for itself. Now the next one is also about industrial relations in election year. As is often the case, in election year, industrial demands or labor demands seem to escalate, sometimes to the point of trying to destroy even the economy. My plea is that in this election year, whenever industrial disputes or industrial negotiations are being conducted, we must have an eye to the nation's existence, the need for us to have the kind of atmosphere that will engender peace during elections and also will not impose an unnecessary burden on the economy. The final one is chieftaincy disputes and ethnic conflicts. We have had more than our fair share of these. And I have instructed the security agencies to be alert and deal positively with those who want to use this to derail what we have ahead of us. Now, Madam Speaker, whatever the case, I can assure you that it is our determination to ensure that we have free, fair, and transparent elections. Atta Mills has no intention of bringing violence to Ashanti. Nor is he aware of anyone using his name to disturb the peace in Ashanti. We as a government will make sure that we provide the Electoral Commission, which has an enviable record, with what they need to be able to come out with credible results. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to say that I have always preached peace because I believe in peace. And I'm happy that the leaders of other political parties are responding to a clarion call I've sounded for so long. And I'm even happier that they now recognize that there's a need to pray for peace. I hope that we all show our good faith and sincerity through our utterance and actions. Ghana is the only country that we have. And I would like to assure the whole country that we were elected for 4 years. We are not going to slow down the pace of our development. It is true we'll take time off to campaign, but this will not be at the expense of development. Indeed, I want to say that we have to hold in check those who want to hold this country to ransom. The peace and stability that we now enjoy can instantly turn to brittleness if we are not circumspect in the way we conduct ourselves. And I know that honorable members have had a hectic time campaigning towards your constituency primaries. But whether you won or lost, you are still MPs. And there's a lot of work which has to be done. And I know that as you have cooperated with us over the years, you will continue to do so. I very much value the relationship that exists between us. There may be challenges or difficulties, but I can assure you that once we deal with each other in the best of faith, success will always crown our efforts. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you. Please, I want to make an observation. Madam Speaker, I want to make an observation. In fact, before I came here, I expected to be heckled because it's a usual routine. But let me say, Madam Speaker, that I did not expect the heckling to be so gargantuan.